Hi and welcome back to the channel, guys. Today we're talking about the London Marathon, and this year's race was very entertaining. Like most years, it's an event where arbitrary world records are broken. In fact, there were 18 Guinness World Records broken. For instance, the fastest time ran while wearing a star suit or dressed up as a vegetable box. My personal favorite was the DJ who mixed his way through the marathon. As odd as it seems, all of this dress up and personas for a really good cause, as the London Marathon's believed to be the largest collaborative fundraising campaign in the world. In the elite race, my highlight was on the women's side, with 23-year-old Yalemzerf Yehualaw of Ethiopia winning the race off of a breakaway finish to come in at 2 hours, 17 minutes and 26 seconds, making her the third fastest London marathoner of all time. She even took a hard fall to the ground during the race, but got up to her feet very quickly, and this almost seemed to have caused her to accelerate. And at the 24th mile mark, she split an insane mile of 4 minutes and 43 seconds, breaking away from the rest of the pack. Last year's winner 𝐀𝐻𝐨𝐻𝐿 finished second in the race, and world record holder 𝐻𝐻𝐿 unfortunately didn't start the race due to a hamstring injury. Another did not start athlete who was supposed to be lining up was Elliot Kipchoge. She's had a near perfect season up until now, but has unfortunately had to pull out of her marathon debut due to suffering from something called reactive hypoglycemia. This is essentially when your blood sugars drop after ingesting fuel or food, which is obviously far from ideal during the marathon as fueling is so important. So she's delaying her debut until she can resolve this matter and focusing on shorter distances for the time being. What I find quite interesting in running at the moment is how young the top female athletes in the world are. For instance, 𝐻𝐻𝐿 broke the marathon world record in 2019 when she was just 25 years old. But then on the other end of the spectrum, Elliot Kipchoge broke the men's world record just last week at the age of 37. So there's some interesting things at play here, but what I find quite encouraging is that athletes seem to be able to perform both well in their 20s and 30s, and also the length of their careers seem to be longer than what they were in the past. Shoe selection in both the men's and women's field is quite straightforward. There was domination by both the Adidas Adios Pro 3 and the Nike Vapefly Next% 2. Interestingly, there weren't any Nike Alpha Flyers featured on this year's podium, which is the shoe Elliot Kipchoge wore just last week when he broke the marathon world record. I do have a hypothesis on why we didn't see many during the elite marathon field, but check out my video up here on the Berlin Marathon for that hypothesis. In the men's race, we saw Amos Kipruto reign victorious with a very similar breakaway finish to what we saw in the women's race. He kicked with about 4 kilometers to go and no one could touch him from there. His finishing time was 2 hours, 4 minutes and 39 seconds, which is a solid time, especially for London, which is a little bit slower than Berlin Marathon course. In the days of Kipchoge's 2-hour marathon mark, sort of anything that doesn't come close to that just seems slow. But we kind of have to remind ourselves that 2 hours and 4 minutes would have given you a really notable time just a few years ago. Second place finish on the men's side was Louis Gabri Selassie, and third place was Bashir Abdi, who is of course Mo Farah's training partner. Mo was also supposed to run the London Marathon, but had to unfortunately pull out with a week to go as he's been struggling with a hip injury. Mo's been plagued with injuries in recent time, and he's only recently recovered from a stress fracture in his foot and a torn quadricep, so he's probably also erring on the side of caution here. Mo has struggled to make it in the marathon with nearly the same success he's had on the track. He's also given cross-country a go but hasn't featured highly here, and I just wonder if his bouncy stride doesn't translate as well on the road beyond 21 Ks as what it does on the track. Also in the men's race was Kenenisa Bekele, who finished 5th overall, breaking the age group world record for 40 years and plus, while clocking in a time of 2 hours, 5 minutes and 53 seconds. Bekele, who's 40 years old, has suffered a lot of injuries over the last few years, more recently having missed 6 weeks of training due to a hip injury. He reckons had he not missed this training, he could have ran about 2 minutes faster on the day, but still says breaking the new marathon world record that Elliot Kipchoge set is the goal for the rest of his career. You can't completely count Bekele out. After all, he has come back from nowhere and ran the second fastest marathon of all time just a few years ago. But there's no recent performance to suggest that he's going to come back close to this again. The big debate in the running fraternity is who is the greatest men's runner of all time. Is it Kenenisa Bekele or is it Elliot Kipchoge? In my opinion, Bekele's achievements in the 5,000 meters and 10,000 meters and his ability to extend his talent up to marathon distance has won up on Kipchoge. That is up until last weekend when I saw Kipchoge break his world record in the marathon again in Berlin. Although Kipchoge doesn't have the range that Bekele has, he's simply dominated the marathon to the point where he can't not be the greatest of all time, at least in my opinion. He also shows better consistency and longevity in the latter part of his career, or at least better than Bekele. And he's ran the 4 out of the 5 fastest marathons of all time, alongside winning 12 world major marathons. And he's only ever not won 2 marathons. On one occasion, it took the victor to have to beat the world record in order to beat him. Let me know who you think the GOAT of running is down in the comments. Other than that, racing season is upon us, with Chicago Marathon happening this weekend. In fact, it might have even happened by the time you're watching this. And Cape Town Marathon's happening next weekend. I'll in fact be doing Cape Town Marathon. So I'll keep you up to date with all that is happening in the running world in my videos to come.